10 seconds after I stepped into Midnight Apartments, I confirmed 3 things. First, I was the disposable female side character, the kind who dies in the opening scene for something stupid like opening the door for the killer. Second, there were 10 days left before the slaughter officially began. Third, this place had 0 security, walls thin as wafers and a lock that wouldn't stop instant noodles, which triggered my firepower deficiency anxiety so hard my fingers shook, and I was still staring at my reflection pale. Fragile, wrists like reeds, lungs too weak to blow out a birthday candle, when the lights didn't go out like a normal blackout but blinked once. Like the building inhaled, and the hallway cameras flipped into night vision horror, showing Debbie Miller from downstairs crawling toward my door in a flower print nightgown, leaving a wet red trail as her nails screamed against my metal frame. Like she was clawing at heaven itself, while behind her a man in a yellow raincoat Jack Rains. The Yellow Raincoat Butcher walked like he had all the time in the world, stepped on her hand and ground it down until the bones gave up, and I didn't scream or move. I just sat at my control console with a latte warming my palms and checked my watch, because the massacre wasn't supposed to start for another 48 hours, and yet here he was early, smiling into my peephole like a delivery guy with the wrong package. And that was when I knew the fragile girl who dies first wasn't dying tonight, because this was only the first stress test of my bunker. 10 days earlier, when I realized the original plot said this outdated suburban building would be forced into lockdown, signal blocked, power cut, exits welded shut, before Jack turned all 12 residents into art, I tried calling 911 and got only static and a giggle, plot enforcement, meaning no backup. Which was fine, because if the script wouldn't let me call for help, then I'd weaponize money, and although the original tenant had only $30,000 in the bank, her living room was full of luxury bags and jewelry. So I dumped everything at the biggest resale shop in town, demanded cash in 10 minutes, walked out with $600,000, then opened every loan app and hit every approved button, because if the world still existed in 10 days, I could worry about interest later, and if it didn't, then debt was a joke. And by midnight I had $2.4 million, enough to call Mike Ramirez, a contractor I'd met on a job site, and tell him emergency job, start tonight, finish fast, triple pay, cash daily. And when he arrived, I slapped my fortress blueprint on the table and told him the building was a 1970s brutalist concrete skeleton that could take it. Then ordered every non-load-bearing wall demolished and replaced with roughly 12 inches of reinforced concrete with 2 internal layers of manganese steel plate, about 0.8 inches thick. All windows sealed with only shooting ports and observation slits protected by triple-layer bulletproof glass, like a bank counter. Floors and ceilings reinforced with soundproofing and steel so nobody could drill in from above or blast in from below. And I circled the front door 10 times and told him I didn't want a security door, I wanted a bank vault-grade door. And not just one. I wanted the hallway extended into a single controlled corridor with a door every roughly 20 inches, each with its own mechanical combo lock, interlock chambers between them, and plumbing ports in the chambers for sprinklers, which could mean sulfuric acid, gasoline, or liquid nitrogen, depending on my mood and the guest's pain tolerance. By day 3, the building shook with drills and complaints. Debbie Miller pounded my door threatening to call the cops. And knowing the plot wouldn't allow real help, I handed her $2,000 as emotional distress compensation, and watched greed win over fear as she left smiling, while the man in 404, Eric Hayes, baseball cap pulled low, eyes like bruises, stood in the hallway staring at my door and rasped, "You're building a bunker." And I twirled an industrial nail gun and sod, crime's bad, and he backed off. By day 5, my warm rental looked like a nuclear submarine, solid walls answering with a reassuring thunk. And I welded every ventilation route shut, because the original killer loved gas and vent crawling, replacing it with a CBRN filtration system with a hidden intake disguised as an outdoor AC unit, charcoal and HEPA filters, one-way exhaust valves, and sensor-triggered electrodes that would turn any crawling intruder into an electric barbecue. Then I stockpiled 40 crates of ration biscuits, 50 barrels of water, stacks of self-heating meals, and enough soda to keep sanity alive, converting the bathroom into a massive water tank with a reverse osmosis recycling setup, so even if the building lost water, I could last 3 months. Dignity optional, survival mandatory. On day 8, a crane hoisted in 10 vault doors through my balcony, while neighbors laughed that firefighters would never get in, and I stared down thinking laugh while you can. Because when the lockdown phase arrived, this place would become a slaughterhouse, and when the last door was calibrated, Mike Ramirez collapsed sweating and whispered this wasn't a home. It was a trap, and I paid him extra to forget everything and leave town. Then I locked door 1, clicked then door 2, 3, all the way to 10. And at my console I prepared traps in every interlock chamber, conductive plates for high voltage pulses, chemical dump rigs, acid waterfalls, because passive defense was never enough for someone like me. And then my monitor flickered and Jack stood outside my outer door with no knock and no call. Face pressed to the peephole, pale and smiling. An axe hidden under the raincoat, and the building went dark 48 hours early, meaning the plot had accelerated. But I didn't scream. I put on night vision goggles and drew my modified, heavy-duty nail gun with an infrared sight and whispered welcome as my firepower demonstration began. Debbie's death replaying on the screen as Jack tested my matte tombstone door. Chipped his axe, failed with hydraulic cutters, got flung backward by a high-voltage pulse, while I mocked him through the speaker, until humiliation drove him to use a gasoline chainsaw to carve a rectangular breach through door 1, only to freeze when he saw door 2 waiting about 20 inches behind it with red letters reading, "Congrats! Stage 1 cleared. 9 more to go." And when he lunged, I triggered Defense Level 2 and blasted him with my Happy Cocktail high-concentration pepper spray mixed with industrial adhesive, burning his eyes and throat, while glue sealed his eyelids and lips and rat trap adhesive pinned his feet, trapping the legendary Butcher like a fly in a carnivorous plant as I took a screenshot from my human observation log and whispered into the mic if he wanted to see door 3, and though he tore his own eyelids open and dragged himself free like a septic tank zombie, fear finally bloomed in his eyes because the hunter realized he might be prey. And he tried the windows, climbing the drain pipe like a lizard and hanging outside my balcony where bulletproof glass didn't even scratch and electrified bars left him trembling. So I opened my gun port, met his eyes through the glass, fired steel spikes beside him first on purpose, then pinned his shoulder, thigh, and finally nailed his yellow raincoat to the wall like a museum specimen while I raised my latte in a toast to modern industrial power. And right then red alarms screamed unknown. Intrusion detected. Location underground drainage. Because Jack had been a diversion and the real kill move was coming through the sewer line. Which was perfect because I'd prepared for that too. And on the thermal camera a red humanoid shape crawled up a sewage pipe only about 16 inches wide, fighting 40 years of sludge and grease, closing in until it slammed my stainless one-way valve where the toilet used to be, thinking it could pop into my safe room. But that valve was the feed port of a 3,000-watt industrial grinder I'd installed for recycling. So I put in earplugs, held the red remote, whispered "don't worry," and hit start. The bathroom floor shaking as the machine screamed and bones snapped and a short, sharp scream died inside the roar, red fluid flashing past the inspection window, before the pipe went silent in under 10 seconds. After which I calmly logged underground intrusion test. Perfect elimination efficiency. 100%. Pipe back flush required. Then returned to the living room where Jack still hung outside like burnt jerky alive because immortal health bars are stupid. Until slow rhythmic applause echoed beyond the breach and a man in a black suit with gold-rimmed glasses appeared. Graham Sinclair, handkerchief over his mouth like blood offended him, smiling politely through the gap at door 2 and praising my defenses before snapping his fingers to reveal 2 brutes carrying a military-grade C4 block, which they pressed to my second door and set to 5 minutes while Graham promised me a clean death if I opened up and threatened I'd become charcoal if I didn't. But I wasn't built for surrender, so I smiled back, hit my final option. Rerouted the building sprinkler system to the rooftop tank now filled with roughly 10,000 pounds of gasoline, hijacked the PA to announce terrorists outside my door, and watched Graham's face go white when gasoline dripped from the sprinkler head. And he screamed that I was a lunatic who'd die too, while I laughed because my bunker had insulation, fireproof layering, filtration, and sealed doors, and as partial sprinklers drowned the fourth-floor hallway in gasoline, the men fled slipping while the bomb kept counting down, until Jack's damaged chainsaw sparked and one spark landed on the soaked ledge, igniting the hallway into a fire dragon and sending a blast wave through my bunker as screens went black and the world outside became an inferno. But inside I sat calm with cold coffee because composite armor doors, reinforced concrete manganese, steel plates, and vault-grade locks don't care about your feelings. And when morning came, firefighters cut through twisted metal and found me, alive behind 10 doors surrounded by supplies like I'd been casually camping. STRNG like I was a miracle while I removed my gas mask, smoothed my hair, pointed at Jack's charred body still hanging on the bars and the hallway corpses that no longer looked human, and said, "Self-defense. Do you believe me?" And the investigation confirmed Jack Rains was a serial killer wanted for 10 years. Graham Sinclair was the head of an international organ trafficking ring, using this building as a hunting ground. The predatory lenders I borrowed from were criminal fronts tied to him and got raided so I didn't owe a cent. And between compensation and reward money, I hit instant financial freedom, bought land deep in the mountains, and started designing my next home, a bunker about 165 feet underground with a radar station, and maybe 2 tanks as decorative lions because who knows what the next world will be, and a smart person prepares early.